Greetings and salutations, Luis. It's great to see you.
Yes,
It
sir.
was an exciting event.
Exciting to say the least. I mean, it was very, very, it was great meeting everybody, right? Seeing everybody come through the room, experience our systems, and yeah, it was very, very high quality people. I mean, I loved everybody I met there.
You know, it's funny. I don't want this to become an outright advertisement, right, for Southwest Audio Fest. But what's interesting about having such a new show in such a cool part of the country, right in Dallas, Texas, is the quality of people, just as you're saying, very serious audiophiles, really knowledgeable, really curious. You know, you and I and Clay Parker, who does a great job of supporting you guys directly, had
Absolutely.
the privilege of setting up an amazing system, right? You want to talk a little bit about the system that was put together?
Yeah, absolutely. So we partnered obviously with REL Acoustics, and we had a pair of Magico S5 loudspeakers. We had a line array of reference REL 31s, which, to my understanding, was the first time in a show in the US that the line array of reference subwoofers from REL Acoustics was shown. We partnered also with Boulder Electronics, so we had the brand new monoblock, the 1151s. DCS was taking control of the digital conversion as well as the Inuit streamer. And we also partnered with Nordos for all our cabling. We had all Supreme Reference Odin 2 cabling in the system. System sounded phenomenal. I mean, I had no complaints from anybody. Everybody actually gave me compliments. I mean, everything sounded phenomenal in the system.
You know, it was fun and for your viewers or customers who don't know this, right? We don't snap our fingers, right, to put these things together. Although God knows I wish it was true, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's a lot of work to put something like this together. And so even with the support of many people, I just want to take a moment to commend you and your team, right? 3MA really is a group of individuals, not just one or two, who make the magic happen. And we did make some magic.
yeah.
One of the things that I was blown away by is the number of people who came by to see this. And you're right, it was the very first time that REL has ever put together a reference line array for a show. This was a really, really big deal. And I was in and out, as you know, to talk to people and customers, dealers, etc. And every time I came back and you were giving a presentation, I think there was a Dead Can't Dance song you were using. The whole room was filled. You
Yeah.
had a ton of people there. I remember coming up to you afterwards and going, "Wow, like this is the thing."
Yeah, I mean, it was great to be able to kind of do some of the things that we do here in the showroom in Houston. We have a line array of reference subwoofers on display all the time in Houston. So being able to bring this over to other audiophiles, consumers, enthusiasts was a true pleasure for us to do, right? And one of the tracks I like to use is that one that you mentioned. It's a track by a group called Dead Can Dance, and this track is called "The Wind That Shakes the Barley." The reason I like, especially when I'm displaying a line array, reason I like doing this track is because it has zero kick drum, zero bass guitar, zero essentially bass elements that when people walk in and they see a line array of subwoofers, they're like, why in God's earth would you need that much bass? And I think everybody that was able to experience this demonstration was able to understand that it's not about more bass. You could do that with one, right? You could do that with one sub. It's about bringing out the details that are in the recording through a line array, right? Being able to elevate the bass frequencies, give it some elevation, give it some different coupling within the room. And everybody was just had their jaws drop. I mean, the differences between having the line array engaged and not was just night and day. And the reason is because of psychoacoustics. And Isaac, you know a little bit about this, right? Can you explain a little bit more about why psychoacoustics plays so much a role in a recording that doesn't even have a bass guitar.
Yeah, totally. I actually think you kind of set it up really well. You and I are equally addicted. I have a line array here in my home. In fact, you visited me before I worked for REL Acoustics. You know that I was a big believer, in pairs of reference subwoofers, goals of building a line array. So it comes from the heart, right? A little bit of the madness. Um, and part of it is you and I have some amazing speakers sitting behind us, like truly world-class loudspeakers. I would argue that the S5s that we used at Southwest Audio Fest also really exceptional pair of loudspeakers. Anybody who can take home a pair of those has a great pair of loudspeakers. But it is different to have a lot of bass energy in an array that goes through your chest and then above your head in terms of listening. In real life, there is no discrepancy in instruments being played between what's up high and what's up low. And yet, in our home systems, we tend to put woofers at the bottom. Lots of speakers do that, right? For a whole bunch of reasons. Safety is one. You don't want the heaviest part of the thing way up high, for one. And the other, of course, is because of how it couples to the room and how it sits. So, what do you do in order to extract all this energy? Well, one of the demonstrations that I like to do, and you have been in the room many times, is I don't have any bass in my voice. I wish I did. I wish I was some sultry, late night DJ radio host. But it's not what I sound like. But when I move from one part of my room to the other part of the room, you can clearly hear the differences in my voice. Why is that? And it's because the acoustics of the room determine how you receive my voice, which is exclusively mid-range and above. And the same holds true in recordings. So your Dead Can't Dance track is a perfect example of that. Now, there's no bass in her voice, but there is a lot of the information of the recording studio that she's in. How close is she to the mic? Does she pull away? Which in music recording is a lot of the art. It's not just singing and putting your singing voice right up to the microphone. One of the tracks that I've been using for, and it's hard to believe I've been doing this for so long, but the better part of 11 years now is a harmonica track from a soundtrack that you can find streaming called Cowboy Bebop. And the track is Spooky Dokey. And it's just harmonica and slide guitar, and then later in the track, some percussion. And you've been in the room when I've done this demonstration for people with the line array, and you play it, and the harmonica sounds like a harmonica. It's a reedy instrument, it's aggressive, but you go, man, that feels really round. It feels special, it feels great. And all we do is take the top two woofers out of our systems out, which I want to make something really clear here. When you pull out only two woofers in a line array, you still have more than 90% of the total bass that this system will produce. It's not set up the way that many people think, right? Like, it's not like all these woofers play the same thing. And that's part of what makes REL different, right? So we have different crossovers. We have different output levels for each of, the top woofer here and the mid woofer and the bottom woofer here all do something different.
Different.
A six
Yeah.
pack. So we take off just the top two woofers in our demonstrations, and people are like, this is terrible. How did you wreck this thing while still keeping 90%? And that's the psychoacoustics. Our brain uses our ears to create the sense of space all around us, or importantly, the sense around you, the space around you, or the recorded instrument. And that's why you buy a line array, because your goal is to get closer to the music, not because you're a bass head.
Right. I mean, many people understand and they can relate to being able to see a singer and have that singer be in front of them. But a lot of what we're listening to is a recording space. And guess what? Whenever this singer is in a recording space, there's a microphone. And this microphone is picking up all these low energy frequencies that are actually in the recording. And, they're not bass instruments. We're just perceiving a lot more depth, width, and height to the soundstage, especially with a line array. Once you take that top part off, all that big height and depth field just collapses, right?
That's
Um,
right.
And it's incredible whenever we do this demo, and we've done it many times here at the store. And I encourage anybody who can or is visiting in the area, Houston area, to come visit us. We'll be happy to perform this demo for you, where all of a sudden it's just like a whole entire picture of the recording space. The reverb gets extended, right? That decay time with her echo in the voice just goes on so much longer than it did before without the line array. So it's just about being able to play everything that's in the recording and not just what the singer is saying through the microphone, right?
Yeah, you're
You
so
know,
right. You know,
yeah,
for your customers and viewers here who know John Hunter often uses a track by Shelby Lynn, Just a Little Lovin', which is a pretty famous recording in and of itself, as she is an amazing singer. But there is a dramatic height element in that recording that is easy to demonstrate, which is why he uses it frequently. Now, this stuff exists in all recordings, right, Luis? But this is easy to hear. And so one of the major elements is a crash cymbal in the beginning of the track. And you think to yourself, well, Isaac, Luis, what's a crash cymbal doesn't have any bass energy. And it goes right back to what you were just talking about, which is, but in a recording space, it totally does. This cymbal itself might not have bass energy, but everything around it does. How long does it take to hit whatever my sidewall or my ceiling or what else? And that's what gives your brain permission to turn off. That's the relaxation. When people talk about a system that isn't fatiguing, six-pack equipped systems are non-fatiguing because your brain gets to relax. And I do want to take one moment here to stump for 3MA. Guys, if you haven't been to 3MA, this is one of a handful of world-class locations based in the United States. I've done a bunch of events there over the years. We've been working together. It's hard to believe Isaac and Louise and Johnny will be celebrating our 8th anniversary of working together this year. You have put together an amazing showroom. You have amazing partners behind you, not only REL, but you have Magico, you have MBL, you have Nordost, you have Shunyata, you have Boulder. The list goes on and on. You work with some prestigious brands. Guys, you need to go experience this firsthand. You can get a semblance of this through recordings on the internet. You can, but it's not the same thing as hearing this in person. And uh, 3MA is one of not many. When you think about six packs, there just aren't systems like this in the United States. If you're seriously considering, one of these guys, as of right now, $60,000, right? If you look at the six pack at number 31s, as of right now, $45,000 for that six pack. There aren't that many places to go experience this. And I can tell you that in total, more than 10 reference subwoofers have been sold so far, out of that Southwest Audio Fest event. We don't go there, right, trying to sell stuff, right? We're going there trying to show you off. We're just trying to show people what you can do, right?
exactly. Yeah.
So,
The interesting thing is, Isaac, although we have the reference line array here, even people that don't have maybe the level of speaker that you have behind you or that I have behind me, it's incredible what a line array of 510s
yeah.
will do for a smaller speaker, right? It's important to be able to size the subwoofer appropriately to the speaker. And when you add the horsepower of a line array, all of a sudden, a 702 S3 from Bowers and Wilkins, you add a line array of S510s, and that system becomes incredible.
This
And
is such a great point.
elements, right? You get the same height elements, the same depth, the same everything that we've been talking about. You don't need necessarily this. This is for the right speaker, right? But even at a lower tier, I don't know, Klipsch horns, B&Ws, it's incredible what a line array of subwoofers will do to the presentation.
I'm so glad that you brought this up. And even though you say, and I love that for those who don't know, right, the Bowers and Wilkins 702 S3 is a compact, relatively affordable in today's terms, three-way loudspeaker. One of my favorite loudspeakers that a lot of people will know in that line is the 805. And the 805 is the entry level to the top of the line, which is their 2.5-way loudspeaker, right, with the diamond tweeter and the Nautilus tube. But throw in your favorite monitors, the Acora SRBs. I believe that Magico makes some monitors as well. A
Correct.
six pack of S510s, guys, costs less than just one of these woofers, right? So just to be clear, you can get into a six pack, which is what Luis is saying, with the right loudspeaker mated to the right subwoofer for under $10,000 comfortably to get the height that he was talking about. It's something that will take a couple $1,000 speaker to a $10 or $12,000 loudspeaker and make it frankly sound like the stuff sitting behind us.
Right. And that's what people don't understand, right? Bass is really hard to reproduce, and a lot of what we're paying for in these high-end speakers that are behind us is being able to reproduce bass, right?
Big cabinets. Look at these woofers and these speakers behind us, right? And they're great and they're worth every penny. But man, not everybody has all the pennies.
Right.
And this is a way to get that experience for way less money. It is true that having this set up by a dealer like you, though, makes a big difference,
It
right?
does.
Do you want to talk about what you've learned over time about setup and the kind of years you've put into this? Because I think your viewers and your customers should hear a little bit about the number of years you and I have been working together and the time you've spent with my mentor, John,
Yeah.
in setup.
Yeah, that it's very interesting because a lot of people look at the system, even at the show, they would walk in, they were like, "Wow, how long did it take you to set up these subwoofers?" Well, in all reality, the subwoofers don't take long
Right.
as long as the left and right speakers are firing well into the room, and that is key, right? They're firing together. They're in an acoustically neutral spot in the room where it could do its best. It could perform its best. And once you reach that spot in the room and they're firing together, the energy is all put into the room. Then setting up subwoofers, it's a lot easier because it's easier to time align one pulse with another one than having three different pulses firing into the room. Your brain is going to get confused. You're not going to be able to move the subwoofer into appropriately time aligned place with two different speakers firing at different times if the left and right speakers are not firing together into the room. Once they are firing together into the room, you can do one subwoofer and then do the next, and then you can stack it on top because those two bases are the foundation. But it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of experience, being able to get things done appropriately. And like Isaac was mentioning, there's different crossover points as you go up, and having the experience of what to listen for really, really helps. We can guide people. We have people call us all the time. We can guide them. But whenever you're buying a line array system from us, we are there, right? We're not gonna just ship off 6 subwoofers to you and say good luck, see you later. No, we're gonna go there. We're gonna set it up for you. We're gonna set up your main speakers for you if they're not properly set up, and then we're gonna do the subwoofer system in order to make everything sound like it should.
This is a process, guys, and it's something that I'm really proud to have been working on for the last maybe officially 10 or 11 years. Luis and I have been working on this officially for 6 or 7 years. It's a long time. And one of the things that he says that I love is it's really about setting up the main speakers, right? So you have a great set on your main speakers. Well, watching somebody like Luis or me, or better, Luis and I, right? We can set up a subwoofer maybe in 20 minutes. And you go, holy crap, that's so easy. But it's because the rest of the stuff is done right and because there's a lot of experience. It costs money to have these kinds of setups done professionally if you don't have somebody like you, Luis, right?
Right.
And for your customers, this is a big deal. If you're going to spend reference money, you deserve to have the right dealer, not the right deal. Don't shop for price. Your value is in having somebody like Luis be able to go out and do things. And you know, frankly, sometimes me too, right? You and I and one of my guys, Clay Parker, we mentioned before, who's amazing at setup.
Very.
Um, we have traveled to go set up systems like this for customers. In fact, a system not very different from the one sitting behind me. So
Yes.
I want to emphasize if you're interested in what this does, make time to go see these guys in Houston. They're in a beautiful part of Houston. I believe it's River Oaks technically right now. Or are you? Yeah, in River Oaks. Great restaurants nearby. It
Yeah.
is worth a trip for you to listen to these things. Listen, check out some stuff that's not this, right? I'm not aware of really many MBL 101 extreme systems. It's $1 million system, guys. This is not just about REL, although I hope you'll take some time to listen to the RELs. This is about getting an amazing audio experience at a dealer who doesn't just have the resources and the commitment to show you things like this, but also the wherewithal to take the years to develop the skill set to make something like setting this up look really easy. And ultimately, that's what you want. So, Luis, any parting thoughts? I mean, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to kind of talk about what an amazing experience it was. And frankly, I'm a little high from it, right? It was awesome to see you command a room.
Yeah, it was really really fun to meet everybody. Um, More fun it was to have people experience things that they haven't before, right? Like we said, not very often you get line arrays in a show environment. So having people experience that was a treat. And if you guys haven't signed up for our email list, I would urge you to do so. We're more than happy to answer any questions. You can visit our website. There is actually a calendar link where you can schedule time with myself or any of the other guys in the group that are experts at this, that you can actually have a phone consultation with us, and we can talk about your system, right? What are the next steps? Let's say you have a pair of Bowers and Wilkins 800 series speakers, and you have a really nice system, no subwoofers. Like, what are the next steps? What should you pair it with? Should you go straight to a six pack? Should you start with just a pair? We can discuss all these things, and we can schedule a dedicated time for you. If need be, we can also do a Zoom meeting. We can look at your space, and we do travel all over the U.S. We're not just here in Texas. And besides being able to do stuff like this, we also encourage to sign up because we have, events at our store that are, sought after. There's people who travel from all over the country to come visit us at our events, especially the Halloween events. Those are ones you don't want to miss, right, Isaac?
So you're telling me that the fact that I've already booked my travel for October is an indicator. Listen, it's 100% true. I appreciate this so much. As a parting thought, you kind of said something that I wish I'd said before, which is, do you start with six, right? If you don't have anything, and I love that you said, hey, maybe we talk about this process. And my two cents is, please don't. Which I know from the guy selling this stuff might sound crazy, but like this was a journey. This system took me 30 years, right? Maybe officially 25 years, of trading up slowly over 2.5 decades. If you can, cool. But for those of you who enjoy the journey like us, please start with one or two and then build it up. And then you'll understand why Luis and I are sitting here talking about having filled the room dozens of times over for hundreds of people to listen to Luis talk about an a cappella singer with, almost 6,000 watts of
Yeah.
subwoofer behind her, right?
Right.
Thanks, Luis. This is always it's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Yes, absolutely. Love you guys. Love the support, and visit us whenever you can. Be happy demonstrate the different systems, not just line arrays of subwoofers, but all the types of systems we have here at the store.
Absolutely. Luis, thanks so much, brother. Be well.